الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
إن الحمد لله ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهدي الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله ونصلي ونسلم عليه وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين وعلى أصحابه بجهدهم وتضحيتهم قام هذا الدين فرضي الله عنهم أجمعين. The Jummah before last, we were talking about the issue of israf, which is basically going beyond the limit and being wasteful. And we were talking about our resources and the usage of our resources. And we were talking about the Prophet Yusuf alayhi salatu wassalam. And we mentioned that Yusuf alayhi salatu wassalam, that Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala put him in a position in which he was able to be beneficial to the people in the land that he was in. And we talked about how Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam, how he teaches us the principles of planning for the future and strategizing for a time of weakness, to take from our strength and to plan for that time of weakness. We also mentioned that in the story of Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam, we learned the principles of economic development and investment. And we paused on that point, but I want to make sure that we have an understanding that Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala in the Quran speaks to us in a language which is beautiful. So we have targheeb wa tarheeb. The Quran has that methodology in which is encouraging us to that which is good, is inciting in us, moving us to understand that, and then when necessary, it puts the fear that we need to have so that we know the boundary, right? Because if the dunya doesn't have any limits, if this time period doesn't have any limits, then it goes to chaos. And the same thing with our lives. So Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala says, قُلْ يَا عِبَادِيَ الَّذِينَ أَسْرَفُوا عَلَى أَنفُسِهِمْ. Those who waste their lives, us, we waste our lives. And not maneuvering in the dunya with hikmah. I speak to myself first. The word hikmah in the Arabic language is something that's extremely important because it means to put everything in its proper place. And we talked about the necessity of being a community and a people, and especially we were directing ourselves to the men, to being people that know how to build and construct and not just move in the world according to what the situations that we're in, according to our desire or our thought, but being people of strength and with a plan. So Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala addresses us in that regard. Those who waste their lives. And part of wasting our lives is not understanding where لا حينما الرجل لا يدرك المصلحة لنفسه وهذا المصلحة هذه المصلحة هي معرفة بكتاب الله تبارك وتعالى. فهذا يحتاج إلى واحد يتدبر القرآن لكي يتفهم، يعني يتدبر على قول إمام القرطبي الفهم. الرجل الذي يتدبر القرآن ويستطيع أن يعرف المصلحة في الدنيا والآخرة هو الرجل الحقيقي، هو الرجل القوي. ولكن الضعيف لا يعرف كيف يتصرف في حياة الدنيا. And this is something that we mentioned that Imam al-Qurtubi, he talked about the issue of tadabbur or contemplating and focusing on the Quran, focusing on it, is the issue of knowing what it means, understanding it. And we talked about the issue of going to the Quran to understand where our benefit is at. And that the man in this case, and it's not to exclude the women, but we want to uplift our men to be in the right place. Because we know that you work hard. But the man who understands where his interest is at is the one who understands how it is that Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala is defining what's in your benefit in this world and the hereafter. That's the man that's strong. But the man that's weak is the one that doesn't have that reality. Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala is saying, don't despair if you find yourself in that position. If you find yourself in the position that your relationship with Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala is not where it should be, the difficulty that we have, يا أيها الناس، يعني المشكلة الكبرى أن الموت أمامنا بالدوام والاستقرار والقلوب غير حية. That's a difficult issue that we're in. That every day before us with continuity, the number of janaiz that we have, sometimes there's 3 and 4 azat in the masjid in a week. Death is the reality, and still our hearts are not moved with life to understand what our purpose is in the dunya. We are not clear. And so Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala, He tells it, لا تقنطوا من رحمة الله. لا تقنطوا من رحمة الله. Don't despair of the mercy of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. Inna Allah yaghfiru dhunub jami'a. Okay, now we understand that principle in the Quran that all of the sins that we commit, Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala will forgive them. But are we in the position to understand really what is going to benefit us? Day after day is the same routine. It's the same fitna. Day after day is the same issue. In the dunya, look, now we're going to a war. The same issue. The dilemma is that now death is before us in a way that it wasn't before us, and we're not clear. We're not clear on how to move forward. Yusuf alayhi salatu was salam, he gives us a lesson. And in this short period of time, we want to take some principles from the story of Yusuf alayhi salatu was salam, so that we know how to deal with our time. So that we're not al-musrifin, we're not يعني لا نقع في هذا الصنف من الناس الذين أسرفوا على أنفسهم. لا نريد أن القرآن يعني يحقق فينا هذه الصفة. We don't want that quality that the Quran is talking about to be realized in us, those who waste their lives. May Allah grant us the reality of being the people of hikmah, being the people of iman, being the people of rushd. أَفَلَا يَتَدَبَّرُونَ الْقُرْآنِ is what the Quran says. Don't we understand the Quran? Aren't we coming to the Quran to understand it? Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala says, نَحْنُ نَقُصُّ عَلَيْكَ أَحْسَنَ الْقَصَصِ. Here the Quran is addressing us in a number of different ways. And in this case, the issue, the Quran is relating a qasas. The story, the word story is not a good translation. We shouldn't even translate it into that. This is from the poverty of the condition that we're in. Sheikh Muhammad Hussein Khidr, who was Sheikh Al-Azhar, he says when the Muslims used to be in a position of strength, then those who came into Islam, they learned the Arabic language. Ma'alish, I'm sorry. But then when we got weak, we translated the Quran. And with translating the Quran, we have all kinds of ideas that are out there that we don't benefit from. يعني وفي مشكلة ثانية مشكلة الأمية وهذه مصيبة. يعني the language that we use in the Muslim world, in the Arabic speaking world, we've been taught that is the Arabic language. It's not the Arabic language. This is the language that has been mixed with colonial forces, English, Turkish, French, whatever it may be. So that the Maghribi doesn't understand the person from Lebanon doesn't understand the other person in Saudi. Every it's like we don't even speak the same language. But worse than that is the issue of being يعني البعد من كتاب الله تبارك وتعالى. Because the meanings of the Arabic language won't make it clear. And so the word qasas, it can't be translated into stories. Because when we talk about the issue of qasas in the Quran, we're not talking about a story that can be batil, a story that can be false. We're talking about a story that is true, that's communicating a message. And we have to make that clear to our children, so that when they hear the stories of the Anbiya as they come in the Quran, they have a clear understanding that what it is that Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala revealed is the truth. Because in this society, we have different ideas about what it means to be a prophet. In this society, we have different ideas of what wahi means, revelation means. And if our children get confused on that point, then they won't have any access to the reality of wahi. They say that when the Muslims went into Iraq, and we mentioned this before, وبدأ أن يتكلم أبناء العرب باللحن. أبو أسود الدعلي انتبه للموضوع ونبه علي كرم الله وجهه وهم خططوا. يعني كيف نعالج هذه المشكلة؟ فمن هذا الباب بدأ تعليم اللغة العربية. When the children of the Muslims, especially the Arabs, they went to Iraq, they began to lose the language. And they began to realize that the children weren't speaking the Arabic language correctly, and that would create a problem for them in understanding the Quran. Abu Aswad al-Du'ali, that was brought to his attention with Ali, and they planned on how it was that they were going to educate the youth. So they strategized. Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam. Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam, we know the situation of Yusuf. His brothers in Palestine, they created a big problem for Yaqub and him, alayhi salam. So Yusuf, he was sold into slavery by his own family. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. Up to now, we have these problems in our family. These types of fights in our family. This type of revenge and jealousy in our family. But Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam, he went to Egypt. Allah tabarak wa ta'ala took him to Egypt. And so Allah tabarak wa ta'ala gave him the knowledge to understand that a famine was coming. In other words, there would be a situation in which food and water will be scarce in the land. It will impact everyone. So Yusuf understood the conditions. And he benefited the people. يعني الناس يدعون التخصص الآن في هذا العصر ولا يفيدون أحدا. يعني كيف نستفيد من تخصصات؟ لا يعني الشهادة ما قيمة الشهادة لو لا تستفيد الأمة في نهاية الأمر. يعني الشهادة فقط لكي تحقق المصلحة الشخصية. يعني هذا منهج المسلم. يعني هذا السؤال. Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam, with his expertise, it wasn't about him by himself, benefiting himself. Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam, being in exile, he was exiled from Palestine by his own family. He put himself in a position of strength. He was in a position where his own family betrayed him. And that didn't make Yusuf go outside of the deen. That didn't make Yusuf go into depression. That didn't break Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam. We see today, please shut off the cell phones. We see today that those types of things come up and people have depression. That's not to say that mental health doesn't happen. We see people become suicidal. We see people cut off their families. Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam, he stuck with what he needed to stick to, and he took his role in his place, and he built as a person that was a refugee. And he stayed on his iman, and he used his knowledge to benefit humanity. And he taught us the importance of economy. We can't build any ummah without an economy. It's impossible. He taught us. Some people, يعني أحيانا بعض الناس في الحركة الإسلامية يفكرون أن يعني التمسك بالقوة يعني هو العلاج. Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam, this is in part a misreading. It wasn't an issue of a power grab. It was an issue of showing the reality of iman and the reality of knowledge. Power by itself is not going to get us to build an ummah. Without iman and without knowledge and without understanding how to benefit the people, we will never build an ummah like that. Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam, he took his job seriously. He was serious about his work. We have to realize there was corruption on two fronts. One of the issues that was happening in Egypt was that the grain that they had enough grain, they had storages, but there was corruption in the system. Those who were in charge, they were taking and they were leaving the people in poverty. And Abu Hassan al-Nadwi, he talks about this in Qasas al-Nabiyin, and he says that even the dogs had better living than the poor. And Yusuf came and he brought reform. Yusuf came and he changed that condition. But Yusuf had to deal with the corruption in the system and the corruption in his family. And so we have to realize having Iman is not just enough. If we were to leave the situation, look at what happened to Yaqub alayhi salatu wasalam and Yusuf. It's not enough just to be Rajul Salih. It's not enough just to be a good person. Sometimes even the people that you love the most are the ones that fight the deen. Look at the life of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and look at his family and what they did, how they fought the deen. The conditions, people, there's certain conditions that we need in order for Iman to rise, in order for the human being to rise. Certain conditions, certain rights, certain protections that we need, or else we'll see the situation like the brothers of Yusuf, what they did to Yusuf, or else we'll see the situation like what happened in Egypt, where the corruption will take the people and make people impoverished, and we won't have an exit. That's why the sin that is in the open and the sin that destroys society is a fitna. Because the sin, at least, that you do in private, yes, it's going to affect us because you're not going to be the best person, but that is not going to destroy our relationships with each other. And one of the worst sins that we can have is the whole issue of Silat al-Rahim. When we break Silat al-Rahim, when we destroy the family, that's a big issue. So we want to leave with this. Yusuf alayhi salatu wasalam, he was exiled from Palestine by his own family, his own people. He goes into Egypt as an exile. Does Yusuf now stay in Egypt and he forgets about his people, or does he put himself in a position where when his people are ready to come back, they're forced to come back? The conditions of life force them now to come back. He's in a position now to help. He's in a position to correct the situation. Wallahi, we say that because we see the Muslims, they come to this country, and this is not an attack on anyone. It's not allowable for us to be sitting and eating and drinking and doing everything, having this house and this car, and we have no conception at all about what's going on with our family. We have no conception at all what's going on with Muslims anywhere else. We have to take the resources that we have here, build ourselves up, protect our families, and make sure that we're taking care of our people. And this is especially something I said to the brothers from Palestine. Everyone else is in the circle, but it's not allowable for you, يعني تتغفل عن أحوال الناس. تتغفل عن أهل فلسطين. And then you live your life and you make your money and you do what you do and you have your car and you have your house, and then everyone else is suffering. Because the situation is beyond the situation which the people can handle. So we have to still be responsible. We have to understand how to navigate here. And I'll say this and I'll close. We had lawyers that came here and they talked to us about the situation in Philistine. يعني وأنا أستغرب والله كيف الناس ليس عندهم تخطيط وكيف الناس ليس لديهم رؤية سياسية وكيف الناس ليس عندهم حقيقة نشاط قوي لنصرة يعني إخواتهم المظلومين. So we end on that note of saying that whatever position that we're in, it's the same thing with the brothers that are in Cuba. ¿Tú te crees que tú vas a quedarte así, mano? Sin ayudar, sin apoyar. So this is the issue that we have across the board, the Muslims in India. The Muslims in every country. The Muslims here have a heavy responsibility. And that's to take care of ourselves, to keep ourselves intact, our families intact, our institutions intact. And then we still have the bigger struggle of how do we deal with the situation of the ummah. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر لي ولكم والحمد لله رب العالمين. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى ال محمد كما صليت على ابراهيم وعلى ال ابراهيم وبارك على محمد وعلى ال محمد كما باركت على ابراهيم وعلى ال ابراهيم في العالمين انك حميد مجيد. We ask Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala to help us and to aid us and to forgive us. We ask Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala to forgive us. We ask Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala to guide us. We ask Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala to help us realize the month of Ramadan. We ask Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala to prepare us for the month of Ramadan. We ask Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala for those who have passed away. We ask that Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala make it easy for them in the next world. That Allah change their sins into good deeds. We ask Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala that they be mentioned only in good. And we ask for our sick, for those who are sick now, and for those who are incapacitated. And we ask for our brother Carlos Nunez, who was struck with cancer. We ask Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala to make it easy upon him. We ask Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala to make it easy upon his family. And we ask Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala to allow us to die in the state of Islam. Aqim as-salah. I wanted to mention also we have our brothers from Rahma organization. I'll talk about it for 2 minutes after the salah that they're here. Please don't leave.
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
Can you please shut off your cell phones? It becomes a headache to listen to the cell phone in the salah. Allahu Akbar. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا صراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواسوا بالحق وتواسوا بالصبر. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. Brothers, we have Muassasat al-Rahma from Michigan that's here. They're looking for a baseline of $300. $150 for a family in Yemen, $150 for a family in Philistine. And what that covers is blankets, 4 blankets for the month, winter blankets, water and food. And so they're downstairs at the table downstairs. And so we're asking at the baseline for that. If people want to donate more than that, mashallah. But at least minimum, they should leave here with $300 to cover what the family in Yemen needs and what the family in Gaza needs. But again, you know, if you can give them more, that will be good.
Jazakumullah khair, barakallah feekum. Please do not leave from this masjid until you donate for the needy families in Gaza $150 for winter campaign and $150 for Yemen for winter campaign. Inshallah, the full amount is going to come from the masjid today. It's going to go 50% for Gaza, 50% for Yemen. Jazakumullah khair, barakallah feekum. You know, this winter, you know, if you can stand outside, you or your family, 10 to 15 minutes, you're gonna feel how they live there with tents and everything. Please support our projects in Yemen and Gaza. Jazakumullah khair, barakallah feekum. Sheikh Muhammad Musa.
As I mentioned, inshallah, who wants inshallah to sponsor one family in Gaza, one family in Yemen, inshallah, raise your hand, $300. With the first one, huh? نعم في كريدت كارت اسف 300. من تاني الاخوه ان شاء الله؟ من تاني يرفع يده ان شاء الله؟ ارفع يده. 5. بارك الله فيك يا دكتور، جزاك الله خيرا. دكتور سعيد 5 عائلات. تكبير تكبير، جزاك الله خيرا. من تاني يا اخوه ان شاء الله؟ من تاني يا اخوه ان شاء الله؟ ارفع يدك. 300. بارك الله فيك. What's your name؟ حمزة. بارك الله فيك. صالح. ماشي عم صالح. حمزة صالح يا سيدي. بارك الله فيك. مين تاني يا اخوه ان شاء الله؟ وان فاميلي بارك الله فيك. $300. عارف، جزاك الله خيرا. ابو حسونه $300. جزاك الله خيرا، ربنا يتقبل منك ان شاء الله. مين تاني يا اخوه ان شاء الله؟ $300. You will cover ان شاء الله one family in Gaza, one family in Yemen ان شاء الله. Or to take one family يعني raise your hand and name your amount ان شاء الله. مين تاني ان شاء الله؟ الاخوه الاخوات ايضا اسفل ان شاء الله، والاخوه وهي خارجه ممكن ان شاء الله تعطي في الاوفيس او مع الاخوه على التيبل الاسفل معهم بليدجز ان شاء الله. They have a pledges on the table, or you can stop by the office downstairs and donate ان شاء الله for the families. محمد ميخائيل one family. جزاك الله خيرا. تكبير. may الله سبحانه وتعالى bless you ان شاء الله. من تاني يا اخوه ان شاء الله يريد ان شاء الله في هذه الجمعه المباركه انه يساعد عائلاتنا في غزه وفي اليمن ان شاء الله. بارك الله فيك بارك الله فيك جزاك الله خيرا. اسم معلش الماسك مش شهاب. بارك الله فيك شهاب جزاك الله خيرا. حق خالد. نعم حق خالد حموي جزاك الله خيرا بارك الله فيك. من تاني يا اخوه ان شاء الله يريد raise your hand ان شاء الله. raise your hand. بارك الله فيكم. من يريد ان شاء الله. بارك الله فيكم وجزاكم الله خيرا وتقبل الله منكم. $300 هو once ان شاء الله. بارك الله فيك. ان شاء الله the healthy relationships learn how to prepare for marriage. ده للشباب مش للكبار ان شاء الله. every Thursday والشيخ يوسف ان شاء الله. every Thursday والشيخ يوسف ان شاء الله. youth حلقة tonight with شيخ يوسف. brother طه محمود. نعم في شاب 29 سنة توفي الأسبوع الماضي ووالدته يعني ترجو في هذا الوقت المبارك إن شاء الله نحن ندعو له إن شاء الله. اللهم اغفر له وارحمه. اللهم عافيه واعف عنه. اللهم أكرم نزله ووسع مدخله وجاف الأرض عن جنبيه وثبته عند السؤال ولقنه حجته. اللهم لقنه حجته واجعله من الآمنين المطمئنين. اللهم اربط على قلب والديه. اللهم اربط على قلب والديه ورضهم بقضائك. اللهم رضهم بقضائك واجعلهم من الصابرين وبشرهم ببشرى الصابرين انك يا مولانا على كل شيء قدير. امين امين. يعني يا اخوه ممكن تشارك باي مبلغ. you can share with any amount ان شاء الله. $50 $100 what do you can ان شاء الله. فمن يريد ان شاء الله ممكن stop on the table or in the office and donate ان شاء الله. اخونا جمال زياده 2000. تكبير. جزاك الله خيرا اخي جمال. ادعو الله سبحانه وتعالى يجعله في ميزانك ان شاء الله. طيب 6 عائلات. اهلا عادل. اهلا وسهلا جزاك الله خيرا. ادعو الله سبحانه وتعالى ان يكفل عائلاتكم. ادعو الله سبحانه وتعالى ان يكفل عائلاتكم كما تكفلون هذه العائلات ان شاء الله. بارك الله فيكم. الاسراء والمعراج ان شاء الله tomorrow after عشاء with دكتور صفوت دكتور ناصر. after عشاء tomorrow ان شاء الله. the celebration of the Isra and Mi'raj ان شاء الله. Muslims on campus preparing ourselves and the children for the university. Inshallah will be from 4 to 9 March 26th. March 26th inshallah. Just guest speaker the chaplain Imam Qaisar السلام. أحد الإخوة ترك تليفونه. ربنا يبارك فيكم إن شاء الله. جزاكم الله خيرا وربنا يتقبل منكم جميعا إن شاء الله.